Do you like gaming with a controller? I do. I actually have a weird obsession with collecting Xbox controllers, but I only use a controller whenever I'm playing a story-based game. I cannot use a controller when playing any sort of shooter. I stick to keyboard and mouse for that. But I do want to talk about controllers today. Now, before I start talking about these controllers, I want to be very clear here. I am no controller reviewer by any means. I'm a gamer that uses a controller daily. But I would like to give a channel that does cover gaming controllers phenomenally, from specs to details to a lot of knowledge and some absolutely phenomenal humor. That is gamer heaven. So again, if you want to deep dive on controllers, make sure you go check out his channel. But what I'm going to talk about here today are custom controllers or pro controllers. I mean, if you got paddles on the back, you're obviously a pro. But honestly, are all of these buttons necessary? And talking about necessary, I want to touch on this new Nacon Revolution 5 Pro controller for PS5. I mean, just looking over this controller, there is so much going on. Maybe too much. I don't even know if you can see it down here. There's actually buttons on the side. Now, I do love how you actually have your volume controls right down here underneath as well. You also have your profile button, PS5, PS4, really? And then your PC switch, and then A or B for regular profiles when you switch it here. You got your lock and triggers up here, so if you want to shorten those up a little bit, you can pull them down for full travel, bam, up here, and again, you shorten them. All of that is just scratching the surface on this controller. Like every pro controller, you can swap out your thumbsticks, but on the Nacon one, they actually have weights that go around here, which make your thumbsticks feel a little bit heavy. It then also prevents some of that travel going all the way to the left. Of course, you can change out your D-pad like all of them, but flipping it over, this is where things get really interesting. Number one, these buttons down here. But look at this. Whenever you pop off your little grip on the back, which is nice and rubber coated, I got to give that a shout out. That feels real nice. But check this out. You got some dumbbells in the, okay, I can't even get a hold of it here. You got these little dumbbells down here that actually create weights for the controller so you can get that balance as you want. Now, I thought that was goofy. I'm like, who the heck would want to put weights in a controller? But honestly, when I started using it, getting that distribution of that weight, how it sat on my hand, I'm like, yo, I like this. Now, the Nacon controller, as far as in the hand, it definitely does feel a bit chunkier. It really does. You got your grips that kind of flat over here and it comes down. It sits in your hand really nicely. But again, I felt myself reaching just a little bit for stuff because again, it comes out bold here a little bit. When you come over here to the stock PS5 controller, everything rolls down right here, right? So if you look at it like this, look at the Nacon straight, the PS5 curls over a little bit. And again, everything just kind of gets in there compact where it should be. But of course, ergonomics are personal preference, just like a gaming mouse. Now, what really threw me for a loop on the Nacon controller here is just setting it up and using it. They didn't even have a manual for this controller when it released. But I just started dabbling with it, holding buttons down, pressing stuff, and seeing what would happen. Again, as I told you, you got your A and B, which is actually A and C on the back. You also have that profile button. And again, you can set your own profile as far as A and C, or you can go onto the PC and create custom profiles, hence the profile button. All right, you confused with me yet? You can adjust everything on this controller, not even as far as the accessories that we talked about, but again, the dead zone of your sticks, again, your triggers and all that stuff, what button does what, which you can do just by your profiles there, or again, your custom profile. You can truly make this controller yours. Now, one of the big shining points on the Nacon controller here are your thumbsticks because they are Hall effect controls. Now, again, with someone like me being an average, just casual controller player, as far as Hall effect switches or regular controls here, I don't really notice a difference. Again, I don't play any FPS or heck any shooter with a controller. As far as stick drift, the only thing I've ever experienced that on was a Nintendo Switch, but I think that was a Joy-Con issue, not really a control issue. I mean, who really would have thought a controller could be this in-depth? Well, I got a little bit more for us here. Let's take a look at some Scuff controllers. And we're going to be taking a look at the Scuff Reflex and then the Scuff Envision. Now, as far as the Scuff Reflex, we got the PS5 version here, and the Envision is the one built for PC. And there's a lot of differences right here. But let me tell you what, as far as on PS5, I love using my Scuff Reflex because, again, let me pull out the stock PlayStation 5 one, you can see the ergonomics here are pretty much the exact same. They flow along the edge, bam, right there. Everything. The buttons feel the exact same. The D-pad feels the same. The thumbsticks feel the same. The haptic triggers feel the same. It feels like a stock controller. And looking at the backside of the Scuff Reflex here, it's simplistic, right? You got your 4 buttons right over there. They're not in your way, so whenever you're gripping a controller, it's perfectly fine. As far as programming, you got your profile button. You can hold it down, bam, hit your pad you want, and then the button you want, and it pairs up, hold it back down, you're good to go. And you got multiple profiles you can store on it. It's easy. And you can also break down the customization on these Scuff controllers as well. A lot more cosmetic than like we saw on the Nacon one over there, but you can change over your thumbsticks as well. Bam, you come down there, and of course a lot of it is customization because all this stuff is attached on the bottom. And I know people have stated before Scuff controllers have their build quality issues, whether that be stick drift, but I guess heck that's any controller without those Hall effect switches. What I can say is I've used many Scuff controllers. A lot of them have been solid besides this most recent one I had over here, this white one. If you hear it shaking around, my little touchpad for the PS5, this deal came loose right there, and I can't even power the controller on anymore. So again, out of the, say, 8 Scuff controllers I've had, this is my first issue. But what I want to touch on a little bit more here is the new Scuff Envision controller for PC. As far as in the hand, this controller is phenomenal. I mean, as far as the buttons on the back, oh my gosh, it fits perfect. Again, that's different person to person as far as personal preference and hand size. But for me, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Now, this controller has a lot packed into it, but it's very simple. Number one, you're seeing all these buttons right here, which you also get an RGB strip on the bottom that's going to be customized, and then you have your headphone jack. But as far as these buttons here, it's really cool because you can set it just like the Nacon one, volume up, volume down, mic mute. Heck, you can set it to what you want. But I love having my audio controls, bam, right there at the fingertip. Absolutely love that. Now, you can customize this controller as well by popping off the top faceplate, change out these little colors in there, change out your thumbsticks, they pop right off, change out your D-pad, it magnetizes right on. And you also have more customization on the backside. You got your 2 buttons right here, you got your wireless to wired switch, and then you also have some buttons here on the side, so if you're gripping it, bam, you can press them right there. And yes, you can also set your triggers if you pull them over to create that quick trigger. So yeah, you do have a lot of customization on this. I would even stretch by saying maybe a little bit too much. For example, these buttons on the side, you can see I got them flattened out because they'd always get in my way. If I came up here to my triggers, I would always hit those. So I had to put in the little dead switches there, which flattened it out and made them not activate. Because again, those got pretty annoying. I wish the Nacon one had that on the back because I always end up pressing those. Also, here on the middle and the back there, I also took those switches out because I just don't use them. I wanted the ones on the side. And when I did that, again, the ergonomics were fantastic. Now, it's not perfect by any means. Again, talking about these little dead fillers I got in the back here so my buttons don't activate, you can hear them. They're a little bit loose. And it drives me nuts because just by the slightest touch, you can hear them dancing around. And whenever I'm gaming, I accidentally graze my fingers on them, and using a premium product, an expensive controller, you don't want to feel that. Now, one thing I really like on the Scuff Envision controller are the buttons. They're actually using mechanical buttons like a keyboard press. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen this. Razer has done it on their controllers as well, but just listen to this. It's snappy and right to the point. And I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but look at that minimal travel you have right there, right? And the mouse space and everything, we're all talking about latency and this, that, or the other. Again, with a controller, so if I get the stock controller out, you can see all that give right there. It's kind of mushy. We all know how a regular controller is. Coming over to this one here, it's snappy. Bam, right to the point. That might be one of the worst things about the Nacon controller, which I didn't call out, is the buttons. You can see how far they're raised up, and they go down quite a bit. You can see right there, bam, and they go all the way down. So as far as a Scuff Envision controller for PC, I really like this controller. But as I stated in the beginning, when I'm on PC, I'm using keyboard and mouse. I hope Scuff makes something like this for the Xbox and the PS5. So we were just taking a look at some controllers that are around $200. Why not just buy this Turtle Beach one that you can get for probably around $30? Well, I got no argue point there. Besides it not being wireless, you got to plug it in. Look, you got your volume controls up top. You got EQ sets. You actually got lights for your volume control. The ergonomics are fantastic. Now, it is definitely lighter weight, feels cheaper compared to those other ones we talked about. As far as on the back, you got your 2 buttons. The only two buttons I ever use. You got your 3.5 jack for your headset. The grips all around it are rubber. I mean, as a casual Joe, it does what I want. But there is no denying the previous controllers just looked at blow this out of the park as far as customization and premium feel in the hand. But at the end of the day, what's my point of this video even? That I can't play shooter games with a controller? That keyboard and mouse is better? Nah, it's really neither of those. What I personally took away from this video with all of my testing here is that holy smokes, controllers are so in-depth these days.